Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Meet the Candidates. I'm not one of them. Thank God, right? Way we're going to work this is the candidates are over here on my left. They're Bruce Gilman, Lillian Gray, and Dan Nace. We will bring them up. They will have 3 minutes. I'd like to ask Kelly to tell us how that's going to work.
So it'll be just the same as it was last year. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to speak. This is not an open Q&A, so there's not an opportunity to address the candidates or to ask questions. If you have a question for a candidate, you can put it in the drop box over there, or there's a QR code. You can ask questions on your phone, and those questions will be asked during the interview, which will take place next week. And then those interviews will be posted online for everyone to see. Obviously, we're not able to use every single question that we get. We would receive a lot more questions than we have time to include. But if you have one, there's a chance we could use your question during that interview process. So please submit it over there. This evening, they will start out. You can see the sort of timekeeping cards over here. They have 3 minutes. Once they're down to 1 minute left, we give the candidate a warning with a yellow card that tells them they're down to 1 minute. And then once we turn to the red card, the candidate should stop and sit down so that we can get ready for the next candidate to get going. So.
Thank you, Kelly. Everybody ready? Our first candidate is Bruce Gilman. Bruce.
Thank you, Larry. Put my little timer up here so I don't overrun. All right. Well, good afternoon. I'm Bruce Gilman. I'm the current president of the Webb Sweetgrass HOA Board of Directors. My wife Susan and I moved here in 2014. A little bit about my background experience. I have a degree in aeronautical engineering. I served as an officer in the U.S. Army. And following this, I worked as in the aerospace and international offshore services business. During my career, I had a bunch of different responsibilities and served as the president and the CEO and the chair and director of several private companies, public companies, professional organizations, and actually on some federal organizations. So after we moved here, like many of you, I decided I needed to do something with my time. And I thought maybe I can contribute some of my time and skills and experience to the community here. So when an opportunity to serve on the Architectural Review Committee came up, I applied for it and I was accepted. You recall us working together on that. And I served for about 2 years in that capacity. Nominations for an HOA board position in 2018 were advertised and I applied for that and I was elected to that board. That was a Pulte board. There were 2 of us homeowners and 3 Pulte executives. 2.5 years ago, the transition from Pulte development developer control began. I applied for and was accepted as the chair of the transition committee, and we did a pretty good job. One of the most significant agreements reached with Pulte during this time was the lake house exterior roof support columns and the whole exterior here. We got them to pay for that, and it was their cost, not ours. That was well over $1 million, as I recall. Subsequently, I ran for the current homeowner control board, which I am on now. I was elected, and the directors elected me as the president of the board. The most noteworthy accomplishment of the board were the new and the greatly improved contracts the board negotiated with the 2 major expenses of the HOA. That's the landscaping, the earth care, and CCMC, the community management company. And that represents almost over 60% of our expenses. Another activity that I led was the fight against the proposed distribution center adjacent to Sweetgrass. You remember that? It was called the truck parking zone or whatever it was. It was a distribution center, much like the Amazon centers. And that would have adversely impacted on our values and the general health. And many of you homeowners who supported that and helped me persuade the Richmond government agencies to kill that finally. And so there are still a lot of opportunities to continue to improve and add on to the work we've done and to enhance the value of all of our investments. And I'd like to stay on that board, be able to support that. And the most important item I feel to address is that we must make sure that CCMC adheres to all the agreements that they signed, timetables, schedules, and a number of requirements that have to be met. And the new board will find that as one of their highest priorities. So I'm asking for your support and for your vote so that may be part of that effort. And thank you. I'm sorry I was over by 11 minutes. seconds.
11 seconds over. Margaret, just come up here and move them out of here. All righty, next up to speak to us is Lillian Gray. Lillian?
I don't need to think. Good afternoon. My name is Lillian Gray. This is my second run for the board. I'm a 4-year resident of Del Webb. My husband and I retired to the great state. Prior to retirement, I've done contract law, a bunch of I've done law work. And I also am a accredited claims adjuster for the VA. So I help veterans with their claims. I do time with an animal shelter, giving of my talent and my treasure to make sure animals are in the community. There always seems to be homeless animals. So that is a passion of mine. I am educated in New England, but coming down here, I am a lifelong learner. So I enjoy still taking classes, enjoying my retirement, learning, never stop learning, helping with my neighbors. So I am very community oriented and I enjoy Del Webb, all it has to offer. My run is not based on a referendum of the current board. I think they do a fine job. I also believe that there's times where new voices, new ideas need to come because we all enjoy our homes. We all want our homes to be increased or maintain or increase in value. So I think that's important that we have the committees and the financial stewardship to do that. So in thinking about what I could contribute to the board, I do have the experience again with contracts, with negotiations and settlements, making sure the fine print on contracts is observed and helping my community maintain itself, grow, so all our values remain for the many years we enjoy them. So again, my name is Lillian Gray. I ask for your vote and I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Lillian. Our third candidate is Dan Nace. It took me a while to figure it wasn't Dan Noth, but we've got there.
Hi, I'm Dan Nace. I currently serve as the director at large of the current board. Marie and I moved here a little over 4 years ago. And we moved from Illinois, where I was a vice president of supply chain for a 12 hospital chain with about $400 million in annual spend. And 2 years ago, I ran for the board and I stated at that time, Marie and I thought we moved to paradise. And although we thought it was paradise, we also thought that it could be even better. We believed that then, and we believe that now. In 2021, the foundations of my candidacy were safety, financial, maintenance and beautification, communication, and socialization. Under the safety initiative, I worked with the board. We recreated the safety committee where I serve as the liaison to the board. We've solved many, many safety issues, and we continue to do that. We're currently working on the lighting around the lake house and reviewing the cameras that might be required. Under the financial section, we are more financially secure now than we have ever been in our history. We only increased our fees by 5% over the last 2.5 years at a time when inflation was 20%. Think of that as you got about a 15% discount because we were able to do things like join the GPO to get national pricing. And we have managed our cost as best we could. I personally developed the Sweetgrass discount list for things such as fine parking and Gino's Pizza and Touching Hands Car Wash. Under maintenance and beautification, we have done a lot of major projects, from the pools to replacing the lights on the mailboxes so they actually light when you go up. And we have been very judicious in doing that. And we intend to be just as judicious in the future. Under communication, I believe there's a marked improvement from the Pulte days. With that said, there is a long, long way to go. We have a wide-ranging group of residents, and unfortunately, we have to address all of them. So we have put very stringent improvements to the CCMC contract, and I intend to hold them to that if I am elected to the board. Under socialization, we have also brought back most of the pre-COVID activities, including the meet and greets and the bingos. However, we're a very different community than we were in 2019. We have hundreds of more homes, people are more active, and we are capacity constrained. We have got to figure out how to be more efficient, and we have to figure out how to utilize our assets even better. I'm very concerned that we keep the CCMC to what they promised us in the contract. That's what I did for a living, and that's what I'd like to do for you. And with that, I ask that you give me your vote, and I would like to serve you for another 2 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. I'd like to call on Kelly to come up and tell us the timeline of this election.
Okay, so the timeline for the election is also posted on the mysweetgrass.net webpage. It's right there on the homepage. You don't even have to log in. It's right on the front. The special election page that we put together will open tomorrow because today was the day we announced the actual candidates who are running. So that election page will be basically your one-stop shop for any questions that you may have as the election goes through. But now that Meet the Candidates is over, the next step in the process will be the interviews, which will be again conducted by Stephen next week. And those will be posted to our Facebook page, our web page, to our YouTube page on Tuesday, August 2nd. So you can log in and watch those interviews with the individual candidates. Again, if you have a question you would like to contribute, there is a paper over here. You can just submit your question with a piece of paper, or those of you who are a little more tech savvy, there's a QR code where you can scan your phone and enter your question via the QR code. Once the interviews are posted on the 2nd, the next step in the process is the actual opening of the voting process. That will take place on August 4th. And then we'll close on August 18th at 5 p.m. Okay, we will use the same service that we did last year, which is the inspectors of election, just for consistency. We don't want to have to try to teach everyone a whole new program or a whole new system. It's the same service you guys have used for the actual last 2 elections that you've done. So it should be familiar with you at this point. Those of you that have an email address on file with the association will receive their election information for voting via email. And those of you who have not given the association an email for the business part of your account, you will receive your stuff through the mail. So either keep an eye on your email or keep an eye on your mail, depending on how you have set up your HOA account. And then we will announce the results of the election at an announcement meeting on August 23rd, which is scheduled to take place at 3 p.m. here in the ballroom. Of course, it will be broadcast online as well. Of course, dates are subject to change. If something were to come up unexpected, we may have to change a date. But if that is the case, we will announce so in an e-blast and on the website and the election portion of the websites that you'll have that information. But otherwise, that is the schedule. We do need 20% turnout, of course, for our election results to be official. That is what your documents require for a quorum. So we need 20% of those of you who live here and receive your election information to please log in and vote so that our election results can be official. Okay.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Margaret. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you for coming. Please vote.